Welcome to the segment of Soul, Silence, and Sound brought to you by BeSimply.
Sometimes my head's alright, I dwell on my past lives, act like I'm transcending. But I gotta do my best to do what mama says, not get offended. Guide and try to abide.
Soul, Silence, and Sound. This segment is brought to you by BeSimply, and I want to thank you all for being here in this moment. And we're flowing on a different recording day, which is confirmation to me that we're syncing up to a new flow through interstellar space. So in this present moment, we are offered an opportunity, as I've been talking about, leaning in and to the next, and we're at this threshold. And as we pave our way into a new era, it's very tempting to grab onto old habits, old patterns, and even those that are out of their own runway for what they've constructed on this planet for thousands and thousands of years are, in that compulsive action of repeating the same thing that's been repeated over and over and over again. And it's kind of like, you have your close family and you have some quintessential same stories that you share and you hear them over and over and over. And sometimes it requires like digging deep to get beyond those stories. Sometimes it's fun to revisit them. However, that's where we are at humanity. We're used to repeating these stories and we're used to these patterns. So if one wants to break a pattern, this is what I tell my students and my clients. I share this with them and I really champion for them to practice, is they have to meet each moment differently. They really have to start to observe themselves and say, how can I meet this differently? Now, if one is grasping and is certain that if they keep repeating the same thing over and over, they're going to win that person over, they're going to win that situation over, they're going to convince someone of something, they're going to have power or control over them. There's many scenarios that to explain why we keep repeating the same thing over and over. However, if inspired, you take some moments to step back and really listen deeply. Be like, okay, I am repeating this pattern, or I am completing a karmic cycle. However, this is when I really need to be aware so that I can break free of the pattern. And oftentimes in our society, we have learned that we can run away, escape, hide, stay quiet. However, if we welcome ourselves to turn in and stay in that moment, no matter what you're traversing, you will see potentially a deeper reason as to why it's happening, what's completing, and that once that moment passes, the tension and the constriction will pass. And this can even be when we're super elevated, like something so excited happens and the momentum rises up, 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 up. And it's hard to keep your wits about you because you're running on this enthusiasm. So the same thing happens when we're in great fortune or adversity. And the practice is just to be really aware of what's happening and the choices you're making. One can, in great fortune, make errors because they lose sight, that enthusiasm and the momentum, they lose sight of what is and where they're going, or that can happen in adversity too. So the reason for the inspiration of this talk today to share with you from spiritual practice, and you can integrate this into your theological practices. I work with all faiths. I do not segregate anyone based on their faith. They all have value. And I encourage you to meet your faith where it's at. And within your faith, if you meet yourself being discriminatory or judgmental, I encourage you to go deeper into your faith, to move beyond that, because that's a limitation. So if within this practice that we're in today, and you think, okay, I'm ready to do two things, break the pattern, to rewrite the old pattern into something new, because this is a necessary step to get each and every one of you to the other side of this transition. And because neural pathways, the way they work, neural pathways are communicating to your brain, but they're also communicating to your soul. And so your soul is this oscillating energy from the interior of your being that has information from the cosmos around us. And so as it oscillates, it informs these energy centers throughout your body. And those signals then inform the physical body, the mental body, the emotional body. And all of that information has a nexus point in the physical brain, but it also has a nexus point in your physical heart, your solar plexus, and in your sacral, which is your hip region. And depending what your, if you're a biological male or biological female, it signals differently. However, the energy exchange is the energy exchange. So once we move beyond the physical temple and we move beyond the organs and all these other things that we make so granular, we're dealing with energy. And this energy is ready for a shift. However, if you keep reinforcing the pattern and the signaling of the energy, it's going to keep reinforcing that for you. And this is hard because the programming is sent out to the physical, emotional, and mental body. That's why it makes it difficult. And it takes diligence, practice, and a real assertion on your part to say, okay, I'm going to break through this pattern. And this is why when I work with my clients and my students, we work on an annual solar cycle with all the moon phases. Because we can get a good sense of what your overall rhythm is throughout that transit that we take together. And so in this moment, you have this opportunity to do what we would call in theater rewrites, or at a movie, they're on set and they have to rewrite something because it's not coming across the way we thought it would creatively on film or on stage. So you are on your own stage right now. And so this is that moment that you can rewrite some of these things, make the wrongs right, be more aware in the moments of good fortune. And then you can do right by yourself and others. Because in this moment, it's almost like this reinforcement of the doom and gloom, the prophecies of destruction, all these things were put there to keep each and every one of you locked in fear and dismay and division and emotions that do not serve, that H word with 8 after it, that don't serve. And so if you stop and think, even when you're, maybe feeling a wrong happening to you, if you stop and feel into what's happening for the other person or ask them what's happening to the other person, that will assist you in having compassion and understanding for all. And so I really encourage you just to take a pause right now. We're going to be soon going into our second lunation, into this new lunar year, that if you really think about, am I ready to release all these old patterns? These exist in your family unit. These exist in the way you do work. These exist in your friendships and with your relationships, with your partner, spouse, lover, all those things, or all of the above. These exist there. And so it takes just a surrender to self, saying, I'm ready to smooth this out and start to participate in the rewrite. And so you may ask, what is the rewrite? And so in every given moment, I always remind everyone that we do the best we can. And if we forget about the overall control mechanisms that were co-created by all of us, if we forget about them right now, that's this umbrella that's fading away. if you forget about that and say, okay, how do I want to rewrite this in my microcosm? How do I want to bring myself into balance, harmony, wellness? And how can I contribute to that in my family unit, my community, all of these other aspects of your circumferences, your wheelhouse, we'll call it, that are in and around you? These bigger microcosms are the ripples of those actions. And so that's why even during the past brouhaha here on planet Earth, we witnessed, if you looked out beyond your own community, all these different communities responding differently, all these different families responding differently, all these different individuals responding differently. And so if we bring it into that microcosm, we can get really certain as to what we want to have play out, quote unquote, play out on that stage, your life. And then you get to decide the characters you want. So if you do step back and say, do you want some of these old things that happen? Do you really want that? And if not, then it's this opportunity to rewrite that. And some people might always associate some of these things with materialism and all these things. But in a spiritual path, ultimately, you know you're getting somewhere by two evaluations of self, or three, actually, I would say. Is your gaze softer? How soft is that gaze? Humility becomes your dear, dear friend. And then the second point is, are you content? How much are you grasping on the outside world or internal world? The more content you get, the deeper you've come in your spiritual practice. So humility, content. And then third is love for self and others, kindness. When I say that word, I'm just going to encompass it. Peace, love, kindness, compassion, empathy. That becomes greater. So when you have these three elements as an evaluation of where you're at, what happens is that even when one is suffering, the gaze softens because they're reminding themselves. They know to remind themselves, oh, this is part of my past karma. We're reconciling something there. It doesn't mean that you did something wrong always. It means that maybe you took a step to the left and the other person took a step to the right, and it was like, oh, and something happened. And then you have the opportunity to come back together and reconcile that, make those wrongs right. And that is a beautiful time, but sometimes it doesn't feel so good. Yet there is the opportunity to do right by all in that situation. And then as that opportunity arises, also we have this opportunity to approach it from the heart and the nature of love, kindness, compassion, empathy. And no matter what your faith is, that's in there. That's written in there. All right. I know it is on all of them. And so if we cultivate that heart of love, love is this essence that doesn't have a beginning or end. It's just is. It's there and it flows. And if you want to engage with it, you can. If not, that's your choice too. So to bring yourself back to there is super, super helpful in this process. So if inspired, as we take these moments to evaluate, how soft is the gaze? Are you content? Meaning if you took everything away, are you content with yourself? And can you find a content place to be in the world around you? And then how much of that heart center do you have? Is your essence filled up by the unexplainable, aka divine, God, whatever you want to call it? Is that exploding out from you and in reciprocation with the world around you? And so at this rewrite, if you choose to have one in this threshold period, because we've started to build into the next, many of you beyond imaginable, but we have this opportunity right now to finish out the ending, this quote unquote prophesized cataclysmic ending, you have the opportunity to rewrite it. And so doesn't it feel better if we create a threshold that leads us gently and beautifully and just with a greater assurance, and we feel full into this new era, versus just having to like scratch, claw, and get there and feel defeated and tired and exhausted and need a rest. We're all there. I shared with a friend, we're all ready for an umbrella drink at the beach. So if you choose right now, I want you to take a moment as we go into our meditation, but also as you move into this next bit before we get into our new moon that's coming up, just to evaluate, how soft is my gaze, like objectively? How content am I? And then how much compassion, love, and kindness have I cultivated? And do I have a reserve, or is my heart center overflowing and sharing it with others? And this is not a place to judge. It's just evaluation. So this can remind you where you need to fill up and where you are best to place your attention. All of this, the energy that's pulling us down and wants us to crawl across this threshold, isn't serving this moment, because it's already written. Humanity wins. We win. So we don't have to go through all this. And I'm not saying that we're going to be able to circumvent it all. And that's where that generosity, that kindness, that love, that empathy can be there to be of service to one another during this threshold. So how do we remap and reconcile things that we don't understand where they came from, meaning karma? First, in this moment, is to release and let go and trust and get rather excited, because humanity has been paying off their karma, and the people that have generated more are about to be in a phase where they will have to pay off their karma. And that is exciting. That's powerful, because what happens in those moments is there's an alchemical transformation that occurs for everyone, no matter how big or small that debt is. There's an alchemical transformation, and one will deepen their spiritual practice and their faith. And so in this threshold, I want you to think about how you can build it so that it is something that feels in resonance with you. I hesitate to describe it, but my mind keeps going back to architecture and design school. And a threshold is such a powerful place in architecture. It's a place that can pull you through in a way that will lead you to these next locations. Think about it in the building. When you walk through a front door, you're pulled through that threshold, and how you meet that door, the frame and the physical surface below will help lead you through there. And then usually there's a chamber that you go into that's another threshold, but it's a volume that leads you into the next. So you can design this threshold moment however you wish. And so if that is from a level where that puts you in more fear and constriction, then I guess that's what you choose to do. That's your free will. However, if you don't want to do that, then I encourage you to think about how you can create that space so that you feel in resonance with where you know you're going or want to go. And just in this action, start by visualizing it, start by welcoming in all the parts and pieces that place you there. And then you need to stay really focused on that vision. Tunnel vision is a good way to look at it. If you think of a runner or swimmer, people that are in side-by-side races or a football game or a soccer game, people or football game for my friends over in Europe, you have to stay focused. You can't be looking anywhere other than right in front of you and staying there. So we're in that moment where you want to be that athlete, where you stay focused on what you're doing, what you're creating, and keep moving forward. And it is an effort right now, but I know each and every one of us can do that. So as we go into this meditation, I'm going to welcome you up into an upright seated position. And then from there, I really welcome you to do a little check-in, and I'll share that with you in a moment, and then let it go. And then on the other side of this, we'll welcome you back to it for a couple days of contemplation as we lead into the new moon. So I welcome you to take a nice deep breath in and out. Again, inhale. And exhale. Again, inhale. And exhale. And just in this moment, I just want you to feel into your physical body and feel how that feels in your emotional body, your mental body, and your spiritual body. And just take a moment to notice how soft your gaze is in this moment. How much humility do you have by your side? And then gently from there, I welcome you to feel in with your contentness with the world around you, your immediate microcosm, your home, your physical temple. Your mind, is it content? Your heart, is it content? And then just gently there, take a deep breath in. And exhale out. Again, inhale. And exhale. Good. And then gently from there, just to welcome you to feel into your heart center and feeling that unexplainable love that is in and around you, that essence that has no beginning and no end. It's always ready and available for you to access. Taking another deep breath in and out. One more inhale. And exhale. Taking a soft, gentle breath in and out of your physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual being. And then gently, without staying where your presence is, just recline into Shavasana, corpse pose, aka prone position on your back. Alternatively, you can curl up into the fetal position on the right or left side. And then gently from there, reconnect to your natural breathing pattern. Allow that to be your focal point as you lead into and receive these sound transmissions.
ane ai ane ai ane ai.
Taking a soft, gentle breath in and out. Another one, inhale. And exhale. Again, inhale. And exhale. One more, inhale. And exhale. And then gently from there, breathing in and out. Inhale. And exhale. Good. Continuing to follow that breath. And then gently from there, moving your fingers and toes. And then feel free to stay where you're at as we exit out. And I'm welcoming you as inspired as you move into the next. Just gently observe where you're content. Notice where you're content, where you have a soft gaze, you're humble. And notice where your heart is full of love, kindness, generosity, and empathy. And simultaneously, notice where you see that in others. And then, without judgment or grasping, continue to build the vision of your threshold with those three elements will make the perfect remedy and recipe for this moment. And without further ado, this is Suzanne signing out with a full heart, a soft gaze, a deep bow, and a namaste. Be simply.
Sun shines through my window to wake me up. Still smiling about it, pouring coffee in my cup. Picturing your warm smile, the no storm could hide. 'Cause to me you're a sunbeam, and you can shine for miles. Yeah, to me you're a sunbeam, and you can shine for miles. The sun puts me to sleep as each day ends. See its colors in my dreams when I rest my head. Picturing your warm smile, and no storm could hide. 'Cause to me you're a sunbeam, and you can shine for miles. Yeah, to me you're a sunbeam, and you can sunshine for mine.
And once again, I want to thank you all for listening. I want to thank Kadri Scott, Dante Marino, Random Rab, and the heavens above for supporting this segment of Soul, Silence, and Sound.